listening to Tales from Eluthanai.
The evening sun was warm for this late in the summer in Eluthain. They might even be spared the autumn freeze longer than usual, Hioreus thought, as he walked with a basket of goods from the storerooms below the temple. Though the Eluthain Council oversaw the work, the temple priesthood was responsible for distributing goods to each family. Every week, most of the city would come to the green outside the temple to exchange empty baskets for one full of allotted provisions. Most got the same each week, though requested items would often be included: books from the temple library, toys for children, clothing, or material for hobbies and work. While most came to the green themselves, some couldn't each week, and for that the priesthood delivered items to homes. This brought Hioreus to the door of Patos, a man he had seldom met. No sound came from the home when he knocked. "Patos, are you home?" he called. "It's Hioreus, you know, Phose's son. My sister and I were recently made priests." His mother let him know this might happen. Still, he waited a bit. "I have your food and the book you requested." Still no answer. "I wanted to know if you needed anything I can bring you next time." Something shifted inside, and then silence. At least he knew Patos was home, even if he didn't respond. "I can just leave this at your door for you. Send word to the temple if you need anything else," he said, setting down the basket before leaving. He had walked a few yards off before the door opened. "Wait," the man's voice called. "I need you to return my empty baskets." Hioreus smiled as he returned to the house. Pata started, "have 2 baskets to send back with you, and a pot I finished the preserves from a month ago." He retreated into his home to find the baskets. With the door left open, Hioreus could see inside. Wooden and ceramic figures of animals, people, trees, and so forth were displayed on shelves on the far side of the room. The detail and liveliness of the art was exceptional. He had seen some of Potos's work before. Occasionally his work had come through the temple, either to be exported or to go to members of the community. Hioreus's friend, Luso, had grown up playing with a wooden fox that Potos had made. "Oh, thank you," Hioreus said, accepting the stack of baskets in a carefully cleaned pot. "I have to say, your sculptures are lovely." Potos smiled vaguely. "Thanks," he said. "I haven't made anything for a while." "Still, you're very good at it." Potos nodded and looked uncomfortable, so Hioreus changed the subject. "Is there anything you need or would like me to bring next week?" "Hmm?" Potos made his expression blank and visibly shrank. "I think I'll just read this book. Haven't felt like much recently. And with winter coming, I don't know." He looked down as he spoke and trailed off at the end of each sentence before starting the next. "It's fine if you don't have anything to ask for. I'll be back next week and you can let me know if you think of anything." Hioreus offered him a friendly smile. "In the meantime, may the light of the flame keep you in your home." He waved as he offered the blessing. "You as well," Potos said, stepping back as if preparing to shut the door, and only stayed waiting for Hioreus to leave. Hioreus smiled and nodded before going, and heard the door close behind him. It was 4 weeks before Potos answered again. "I brought your week's food," Hioreus called. The door opened, and Potos appeared, his expression blank as if he were hiding under a mask. "I got a sending from your mom. She said I had to answer for you today or she'd come herself. I didn't respond, but can you tell her I answered?" Hioreus frowned a little. He felt bad his mom had threatened him. It wasn't much of a threat, but for Potos that was enough. "I felt bad I haven't finished the book yet, but it's past time I returned it," Potos said, offering the book back. "Did you enjoy reading it?" "Oh, it's interesting and well written." He let slip a frown as he looked down at it. "I tried to finish it today before you arrived. I'm only halfway through it, though. You know, no one's requested it. If you like, I can enter in the log that you need more time with it." "Oh, don't bother yourself." Hioreus offered a sympathetic frown. "Did you know it took me a long time to learn how to read?" he asked, and Potos shook his head. "It was difficult for me. The letters seemed to jumble together. I still read slower than most people, so I get it if you need more time." "My problem's not—" Potos started, but Hioreus cut him off. "You were enjoying it, weren't you?" And Potos nodded. "Then I'll get you some more time. It's not any bother for me." Potos pursed his lips into what could almost be called a smile. "Thanks," he said. "I suppose I ought to give you my empty baskets." He went to his house to retrieve them. He came back looking uncertain. He started. "I think I could try making something. Could you have some log sections sent up? I feel guilty not contributing when everyone else does so much." Hyreus nodded and made a note of the request. His mother had explained Potos's depression to him, and he wanted to express that it wasn't necessary, reassure him he'd be cared for, even if he couldn't work. Such was the way of the flame. Instead he said, "Your efforts are appreciated. I'll have some wood sent over." "Thanks," Potos said. "May the light of the flame bless you in your labors," Hyreus offered a blessing before leaving. In the coming weeks Potos answered more regularly for him, and seemed less guarded. One day, after exchanging baskets, Potos stopped him. "Wait," he said. "I have some things for you to take back to the temple." Before long, Potos returned with some wooden figures. "I'm sorry it took me so long to make them." Hyreus looked at each of them and placed them in the basket. A caribou, an owl, and a horse, each lifelike with a fluid quality suggesting motion. "These are really impressive," Hyreus exclaimed. "To be honest, I don't know anything about woodworking, so I hadn't expected them before now." He also hadn't assumed Potos simply didn't want to make them for his own enjoyment, but he left that part unsaid. "I'm sure whoever these go to will love them." "Do you know if they'll stay in Eluthanai or be sent out with the trade goods?" Potos asked. "I don't know," Hyreus confessed. "We always take into account the needs of the community first before sending items with our traders." "I always wonder how our work is regarded when it's sent out. I like to imagine my efforts bring joy to others. May the light of the flame keep them strong wherever they go." "I'm sure they will," Hyreus said. "I knew some of your work as a child. One of my friends had a fox you made. I'd keep something like this on display in my home. It's quite lovely." "I'm glad you like it. People seem to like my work," he said. "Oh, before I forget, these aren't the only things I made for you to take back," he added, retreating and coming back with a free-form loaf of bread. "I baked this a few hours ago. The Thuametha is in 2 days, and I'd be happy to know I contributed something. My mom is taking over the role of chief priest from Apen this year. I'll talk to both of them and have it included. Thank you for this. Do you need me to bring any more flour to replace it?" he said. "Oh, no. I don't always eat it fast enough anyways. Thank you for taking my contributions." Hyreus nodded. "May the flame's light preserve your will." He gave the blessing, and Potos returned it before leaving. It was late in the evening after the Thuametha. Hyreus had been disappointed but not surprised when he realized Potos had missed the communal meal, and he'd taken it upon himself to set aside a pot with portions of each of the dishes to take up to the man's home. "Potos, it's Hyreus. I brought food from the Thuametha." The door opened, and Hyreus could see the man had been crying. "It's getting cold out. Do you need to step inside?" Potos asked. Hyreus nodded and came in. "Thank you for bringing me some of the meal. I tried to come this year, but, well, I find it difficult to go places," he said, sitting at his table. "I don't remember how many years it's been since I was able to go. I do miss it, though. The celebrations, the community sacrifice, the red of an Eluthanai fire. I could see the braziers on the green from my window. That was nice. I gave your loaf to my mom. They used it for the ritual." With that, Potos's eyes lit up. "Thank you for letting me know. I'm glad I had something to offer. I wish it were easier for me to go to such things." Hyreus nodded. "I don't know if you're interested," he said, "but the lighting of the kiln is in a couple of weeks. It'll be my first time taking part in a public ritual." "Oh, congratulations," Potos said warmly. I'll try to go, but I can't promise anything. I have a hard time with crowds. I haven't been to a lot for a long time. You know, there's always someone at the temple keeping the flame under the central oculus. Throughout the night, just 1 or 2 priests attended at a time. My sister and I will be taking a turn day after tomorrow. You know me, and if you know me, you pretty much know her. You said you missed seeing the red of an Eluthanai fire? Well, if you came, it would just be the 3 of us and the flame. That would be nice. I'll probably take you up on that." Hyreus nodded. "I'd best be going. Enjoy the food. It should still be warm in that pot." What was called spring elsewhere was more than half gone when the snow finally retreated in Eluthanai. Hodos never came to the temple in the nights when Hodos kept the flame, though still he delivered his baskets every week. "Do you mind walking with me for a bit?" Hodos asked one evening when Hodos came. "Sure, there's still plenty of daylight left," he answered. "Thanks," Hodos said. "I like to see the spring flowers on the hillside when they come. It's my favorite in the cycle of seasons." Hodos gestured for Hodos to lead on, and they walked in silence. Occasionally a passer-by would stop them to chat, and Hodos would talk and perform the expected niceties before continuing. The hillside was speckled with little yellow and orange flowers, and they looked out at them for a bit. Later, they walked past the edge of the forest, where pine trees were just putting on new growth, and the normally dark evergreens were speckled with young, light green branches. "Thank you," Hodos said as they approached his home again. "People are very welcoming, but I never know what to say to people if they want to talk. So thank you for helping me go out today." "It's no problem," Hodos said. "During the spring and summer, at least, I can probably go walking each week when I come." "Every week sounds like a lot for me, but thank you. I'll let you know if I'm up to it," he answered. "Oh, before you go," and Hodos retreated into his house and returned holding a wooden sculpture of a wind-blown tree on a hill. "I had thought to give you this on a night when I visited you keeping the flame at the temple, but I don't know when I'll work myself up to go out at night. Anyways, I made this when I was about your age." "This is—" He stopped, a loss for words. "You were very talented even back then. Thank you." "I made this for my mother, and I've kept it since she died. I want you to have it now because—" He hesitated. "You remind me of her in a way. I'm sorry. That was a weird thing to say." He chuckled nervously. "It's fine," Hyoru said, looking down at the gift. "I was saying before, Eluthain is welcoming, but I don't know how to be with people, and very few take time to even silently spend time with me. Still, I don't know if I could survive anywhere else." "The way of the flame is a shelter," Hyoru said. "It is," Hodos responded. They sat quietly for several minutes after that. "I should let you go," Hodos said. "It still gets very cold after dark. But thank you again for your time." "Thanks again for the gift," Hyoru said, standing. "It really is a treasure. Take care, and may the light of the flame guide and guard your path." Hodos nodded and waved him on.
Tales from Eluthain is a podcast by Eric Porter, created as an exploration of my D&D character's culture. The world beyond Eluthain is the primary creation of Benjamin Priest, our DM.